Hey guys, welcome to my Six Side vlog. My name is Shane, and today I want to talk about my son and his last and his most recent visit to the hospital. I've covered in previous videos that my son, myself, and my daughter have PJS, Peutz-Jeghers syndrome, and the time before last, when we were going to the hospital like 2 or 3 times a month, sometimes there would be a month or two in between. But we were going frequently over the last 2 or 3 years, and the doctors didn't know what was wrong with my son. We all the time thought it was related to the PJS, and the doctors couldn't conclusively come to that decision. We would get to the emergency room. They would give him some pain medication. He would relax. The situation would resolve. They would give him the x-rays, the CAT scans, whatever, and they would see no blockage. So they would send us home that night or the next morning after some observation. And the time before this most recent hospitalization visit to the emergency room, we figured out that his system just doesn't move the food along internally, and he gets caught up, not necessarily with a polyp or anything like that, but it just doesn't get pushed along, and he would have severe stomach pain and things like that. So that's where we thought it was an intussusception. And one day we figured out that by just moving around a little bit when he started to get the pain, or taking a walk resolved the most recent time where he got sick at home, but we tried to fix it without going to the hospital. He moved around a little bit, and he said, "I kind of feel better." I said, "Well, take a walk around the block and see if that helps," and it did. So I told my wife, it's like, because all these visits to the hospital were just adding up, and we pay like $600 a month just for his hospital bills on a monthly payment plan to 4 different facilities now. And I told my wife, next time he gets sick, don't take him to the hospital. And one, we can't afford it. Two, we've pretty much figured out how to resolve the issue. And the he had to take more ownership of his problems and try to resolve them on his own. He just turned 19 years old. And I'm at work one day. My wife tells me, we're taking him back to the hospital, which I didn't want her to do at all in the first place. But she took him to a different hospital, a new hospital that he hasn't been to before. And he was only there for emergency room visit, maybe 3 or 4 hours. The pain was still, they couldn't resolve the pain issue, and they still sent him home. So we went to the hospital, and my wife just got on her new insurance with her new employer. So we had yet to make our out-of-pocket or deductible. We still had to pay the deductible. So we get the hospital bills back, and considering this was just a brief stay in the emergency room, our out-of-pocket bill to meet the deductible was almost $7,000. Just under $6,000 from the emergency room itself and everything they did for him, quote unquote, and another doctor wants nearly $900. And we think it's a billing issue, but until it's resolved, I'm going to include that with the $6,000 hospital bill. So nearly $7,000 for a 3 or 4 hour stay at the emergency room, which is ridiculous. And I told my son, I was like, well, I told him to set up payment plans because I want him to take more responsibility for his life. And he's very reluctant to do that in general. And so I told him this would be a great opportunity for you to kind of do what I have to do. And you're pretty much an adult now. And so just make the call, set up payments, monthly payments, and something that you can live with. And even if you can't pay, I can pay it, then you can pay me back, just so you'll get in that habit. And he's like, okay, or whatever. And I asked him a week later, did you call? No, I haven't called it. And this went on for about a month. So I finally call, and I can't do anything because my name's not associated with the billing. My wife's name is because she has the insurance, and my son's name is on there because he's the patient. So the people on the phone told me one of those two people have to call back. So I got back with my wife and I told her, it's like you or he has to call, one or the other. But we can't put it off any longer because we're going to get the final notice pretty soon, and this is going to go to collections. Which, if you've ever had to deal with collections, you know the insane rate of interest that they add on to a bill. It's ridiculous. I understand kind of where they're coming from, but if you can't pay your bill at the regular amount, whatever it is, how can you pay that with the 25, 30%, whatever interest rate that they're tacking on to that? I don't get it. I don't have the money for this bill. I don't have the money for this bill plus that interest rate. So I can see both sides. They want to influence you to pay the bill as soon as possible. It's a priority. And God help you if you've ever had to deal with collection agencies. They are relentless. They will not leave you alone. But that's a whole nother topic. So my wife finally calls, and with my son in the room, they set up a payment plan and things like that. So this is going to be his first first experience with real life responsibilities. He's pretty much lived at home for 19 years and hasn't. We don't charge him rent. We ask him to help out around the house, but he's reluctant to do that. And I told him, I constantly tell him that mom and dad won't be here forever. And so I want him and my daughter as well to be as prepared as possible to go out into the real world, because it's the truth. Mom and dad, whoever you are, wherever you are, if it's your parents or your parents of a child, you know the parents won't be around forever. They won't be able to help you out forever. So you have to be out in the real world eventually to take on your own responsibility. So he's agreed to the payment plan. It's due like the middle of the next month. The hospital wanted $500 a month. They settled on $250 a month. But it's going to be hard for him. He doesn't save any money. He's too reliant on how he's been raised, and that's partially our fault as parents. But we didn't want to lay down the law and give him an ultimatum where he would have like just left the house, and we didn't want that. We wanted him around as long as possible, and he's always welcome in the house, as is my daughter, even though she's engaged and planning on getting married and all that. But there was a fine line. Do you push it? Do you not push it? But this was a good point in life to where I could have him take on some responsibilities for himself and to see how the real world is. Like I said, we pay alone just for his hospital bills on a monthly payment plan close to $600 a month. And so I don't think it's unfair to ask him to pay this part. This is more or less like, I mean, we don't ask for rent or food money or pay part of the bills, anything like that. So he's pretty much rent free, bill free. He has a car, so he has to pay insurance and gas and things like that. But other than that, he doesn't have any financial responsibility. So I think this is a fair trade-off, and we really couldn't add another $250 onto the $600. That would just bankrupt us. We wouldn't be able to pay our regular bills and in groceries and luxuries like that. So hopefully he sticks with it. I told him about the horrors of collection agencies, and you don't want to start off in life with that on your plate out of the gate. You don't want that to happen. So hopefully he understands, and we can help him out maybe once in a great while, but we can't have it be a permanent thing. Like, well, can you help me out again this month? And no, we can't. So this is kind of like a sink or swim thing right now. And he just started a new job 2 days ago. He's going to learn a trade as part of his training, which is good. But I don't know if they offer insurance, because he needs a job with insurance, having PJS, Peach-Jagger syndrome. So, man, I'm nervous, anxious, and afraid for him all at the same time. But he's got to grow up and face the world, face reality. So hopefully he does good. I want him to do good. I want him to succeed. I don't want him to have to live like I did. And I've had over 30 jobs in my life, and it's been a struggle from day one up until now. So I use myself as an example. You don't want to go through what I had to go through. So hopefully he listens, but we shall see. And hopefully his bouts with his digestive system and his pain and his hospitalizations are minimized now. He knows how to resolve those on his own, and so we shall see. I wish him the best. I love him, and we'll go from here and see how it works out. That's where I'll wrap it up. I just wanted to kind of put that out there. If you've had to make that decision with your kids, or if you're a kid that had to deal with those rules, or whatever you want to call it, from your parents, let me know. And how did you deal with it? When I was young, I knew I had PJS since I was about 10. I had surgeries while I was in high school, and once I got out of high school, it wasn't a real big priority for me to find an employer that provided good health care insurance. I thought I was kind of invincible, like every teenager does, every young person does, and oh, that won't happen to me, kind of thing. And it didn't for a long time, but it will catch up to you when you have a disorder like this. If you have an illness like this, it will catch up to you. And luckily, I dodged bullets left and right, and I got sick later on in life. I had to have surgeries when I did have insurance, so I dodged a lot of bullets, like I said. So I'm just rambling now, so I'll cut it off here, and please leave your comments in below if you have any similar circumstances like this. It's already 13 minutes into the video. I apologize, but yeah, let me know if you've been in this position before, and I will be back soon with another video. Thanks. Later.